Salt Lake City still shaking from the huge 5.7 earthquake reportedly felt by over 30,000, and the strong aftershocks, people told to stay out of buildings because of a tremendous amount of liquefaction in the area. Also, we're going to take a look at the magma and the volcanoes of Utah because it's in the line going from Baja up towards Yellowstone, and we're going to take a look at that as well. This is the rough line of the magma. Basically, it's not a straight line, it's basically curved like a U, going through from Baja, Utah, all the way up to Yellowstone. And we're going to take a look at some of the volcanoes in that area as well. We had a tremendous amount of earthquakes today in Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah. It started with a 5.7 magnitude quake, and as you can see here, then the 4.4. All of these felt by a number of people, reported over 27,000 reported to USGS. You can see that hundreds of thousands of us have felt this, obviously. We've had a number of, all these blue are the past day's earthquakes, and the red are the past hour, 5.7, the 4.4, and the smaller ones. And from what one of my viewers just informed me, he says that Utah area just got warnings in Salt Lake City to get out of the houses. Now, Utah expecting another in 30 minutes he says that it could be a 9, but God forbid. Now, okay, something is going on there because we didn't have quakes this past week, and all of a sudden it's being hit by earthquakes. Let's take a look at the geology of the area. And as we can see, it's not that far from, it's about 300 some odd miles from Yellowstone. This is Yellowstone right here. This is Yellowstone. So taking the measurement, it's about what, 100, 200, 300 miles, some odd. Okay, and I don't think I have the small, I don't have the small ones on. Okay, let's put on the little ones because I only had the quakes over 2.5 magnitude, and this is what it looks like. And of course the blue are the past day, okay? And the depth, the Shakemap, unfortunately the Shakemap only stops within a square, and it does not go out into other areas, but we'll take a look. The fact is, let's take the Shakemap out because I want you to see that it was on a fault line. On a fault line, hold on, here we go, and let's go in right there. Okay, this is it's not that, okay, this is the general area of our quakes right here. Okay, Salt Lake City, panning out again so that we can see the Shakemap. Unfortunately, it stops at a certain area. No, not the, let's take out the, okay. Population density, of course. Let's go in. This is Salt Lake City, as we know. There you go. And if we extend, more of the Shakemaps. Okay, the intensity, there you go, that's better. So you can see that obviously these contours go all the way out. Where do they stop? Okay, this is Yellowstone right here. This is Yellowstone right here. Obviously this is going to shake Yellowstone because the contours are so intense here. I would say that they would go definitely up to here. Okay, and they're still ongoing. The quakes are still ongoing. And let's go back to our, okay, let's go here. Okay, back into our quakes. That whole area, you see, they don't have, these are just today's quakes. There were no quakes in the past few days. Otherwise, it would have been on here with a yellow code. Okay, here we go. And the basic information. the Tectonic Summary. In the Intermountain Seismic Belt, that is northern Utah and vicinity, the ISB is the prominent north-south trending zone of recorded seismicity in the Intermountain West, including the Wasatch Front Urban Corridor. A modern catalog of instrumentally located earthquakes in Utah begins mid-1962, and historical earthquake records date back to 1850s. In general, magnitude 5 or larger earthquakes occur at an average rate of about 1 every 10 years. This is what we have today. Actually, it's closer to 6. And a magnitude 6 or larger earthquakes about every 50 years in the area. The largest historic earthquake was 1934, 6.6 surface faulting earthquake in Hasley Valley, north of the Great Salt Lake. Well, this is not north, this one is south. The ISB in northern Utah includes the Wasatch Fault, which has had relatively little historic seismicity, despite being Utah's most active fault based on geological evidence. Because the moderate and large earthquakes are likely, expected levels of strong ground shaking are high. And that's why, of course, people have been told to stay out of their houses. Ground shaking from a magnitude 5 earthquake can cause significant damage to structures up to distances 6 miles. Okay, that's why, of course, the people have been told to stay out of the buildings. And magnitude 7 at a distance of 30 miles and more. Geologic site conditions such as deep sediment-filled basins may locally amplify and prolong ground shaking. Now, because of the fact that this is in a lake area, of course, this is not good for liquefaction. Let's go back to our map so we can see the liquefaction area. Liquefaction, if they have it here. Liquefaction estimates. Let's take off our Shakemaps so that we can see much better. Okay, take this off. Okay, and go in. Do they have liquefaction? Maybe not. Oh, here we go. There it is. Okay, that's in an area of liquefaction. This is the liquefaction area. And there's our quake. That's a 5.7. Of course, we have a lot of other ones all around that, to the north as well, as you can see, to the east. Okay, so that is in it, of course, a liquefaction area, because all this is, okay, is that the population density? No. Liquefaction. Yeah, let's take out the population. Okay, there we go. So it's in a very dense populated area where you have all this liquefaction. So all of this has to come out. What do you mean to come out? I mean, God forbid, people have to leave the buildings. And if they have a way to get out of the area for a couple of days, please do that. And in the midst of course, trying not to be close to people because of what we have going on, health-wise. So, okay, this is from what our, I think Randy Libby just sent me another piece of information. Let's see what he says. Thank you, Randy, for your help. That's a really great contact. Oh, he says he lives in, I've asked him if he lived in Utah. He says, no, I live in Maine. I'm just a watcher. Okay, but I will mention you, Randy, because you're helping. Thank you so much. Okay, so this is, I appreciate you, all of you, supporting me, because, you know, we do help our church and the poor, and this is even worse of a scenario now with all this going on. And especially in this very holy period before Easter. Let's keep that in mind. So, our prayers were the people in, of course, Utah. Okay, this is the liquefaction that we see here is a tremendous amount because this is a lake area. Everything there could be fill-in, not only man-made fill-in, but also nature fill-in, and it's very soft, as they said. The sediment, because of liquefaction. Okay, now the ISB, northern Utah, coincides with transition between east-west directed stretching in the basin and range. It's stretching. To the west and the area of most stable crust in the middle Rocky Mountains to the east. The area is characterized by moving along north trending east and west dipping range boundaries normal faults, resulting in horizontal extension. The ISB in northern Utah contains the Wasatch Fault, many of the state's other most active, which commonly show evidence of multiple displacements in the past 10,000 years. Average recurrence intervals for large surface faulting earthquakes in the most active center segments of the Wasatch Fault are 1,300 to 2,500 years. Recurrence intervals typically longer, 1,000 to 10,000 years or more. On other faults in the area, ISB faults are inferred to be moderate to high angle structures extending to depths of 10 to 15 kilometers, 6 to 10 miles, capable of causing large earthquakes and strong ground shaking, as what we had today. However, evidence suggests that some normal faults are generally dipping with down-dip movement on underlying shallow, low-angle, west-dipping thrust faults formed during the early Cretaceous, early Tertiary period of east direction compression. The potential for movement on these faults to cause strong ground shaking is less well understood, but likely low. Surface rupture on the Hansley Valley Fault occurred during 1934 Hansel Valley earthquake. However, most small to moderate-sized earthquakes in the ISB cannot be associated with recognized geological young faults. Part of the problem of associating seismicity with faults arises from the superposition of lake Cenozoic stretching upon older thrust belt structure, so including buried faults having no surface extension. So it's stretching as well. And we knew that from way back. Let's go to our, let's go so I can get a map. Get a map. Let's get a map so I can show you. Okay. I talked about the mid-continental ridge, the rift, mid-continental rift. This is it right here, like this. But unfortunately, these quakes that we have here going all this it's a mantle plume, like a horseshoe shape. The west goes through, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Kansas, Tennessee, and all the way down here. And the east goes around flanking the rivers, Ontario, Erie, of the Great Lakes, and all the way down to the New Madrid Southern Zone, which is another rift valley. And we know that rift valleys take place where you have magma underneath, and they split. So this is picked up in activity lately from what geologists are telling us. And it seems that this has also picked up in activity from what we see. We've already talked about the diamond spewing volcanoes of Kansas that have gas release. And this gas release could be the shaking that they hear and the boom sounds that they feel. And they're house rattling from the foundations. It could be the gas release from the diamond spewing kimberlite volcanoes of Kansas, for example. Okay? Now, this is a rift valley, and it's opening up. At this point, one point in time, Superior was much closer to Wyoming, but it's split because of the rift. There's magma underneath, going like this. Magma, and they don't know where that magma is coming from, but it's there. Okay. Now we have magma here too with these, we have a tremendous amount of activity here around Puerto Rico in the Caribbean. These are all volcanic islands. We have volcanoes here as well, Mexico, Guatemala. The Baja California area right here, we've had a strong 6.1 earthquake a couple of days ago. And the western arm goes to the west coast of the high threat volcanoes here. Walker Lane fault system, and the eastern arm goes right here like this. Yes, from here into Yellowstone, and of course, what's here? It's Utah, right? Utah is in the middle of the mantle plume, feeding from Baja to the eastern arm, going through to Yellowstone. Okay, so you do have magma there. Let's go to the faults. Put up the faults. Okay, there you go. All those faults right there, up to Utah, right there. From through Utah into Yellowstone. Yellowstone is right here. Okay, so that's the magma plume feeding Utah. Okay, so here we are on volcano discovery concerning the volcanoes of Utah. Utah has 8 volcanoes, and as we can see, they're basically in a line. There we go. That's Utah, and Wyoming is up here. This is where we have Yellowstone. And as we know, this is basically in a, let's pull out, this is basically in the area that we saw that mantle plume before, going from Salton Buttes, from Baja basically. This mantle plume looks like this, and it has another arm going to the west, feeding the high threat volcanoes of California on the Walker Lane Fault System, going through Salton Buttes all the way through Utah, right like that, and up to Yellowstone. Okay, so 8 volcanoes. Bald Knoll, Black Rock Desert, Fumarole Butte, Kolob, America Gun Plateau, Mineral Mountains, Cove Fort, Santa Clara, Smelter Knolls. So this whole thing around the area, we know that all rivers, of course, are fault lines, but Salt Lake City, right here, also has, it's a lake, and all this sediment, this is very soft sediment. That's why they can have very large, very big damages in the buildings. People have been told to stay out. One of my viewers, thank you, Randy Libby from Maine, was quick in giving some input concerning the Vanuatu earthquake, the video before this one, deep 6.1 magnitude, and came out with the comments. He was very timely. Thank you for your support and being on top of it right away, Randy. Thank you. Stay safe, please. Okay, so these are I'm not going to go, let's go into one. Let's go into this. Okay, cinder cone. It's the youngest of the group of basaltic cinder cones southwest of Pan-Saugat Plateau, southern Utah. Okay, so you see that we have Bald Knoll cinder cone probably erupted only a few thousand years ago. That's why it's so young. It has an intact crater which has produced a massive youthful-looking lava flow that traveled about 12 kilometers to the south-southeast. Buck Knoll and Black Knoll are 2 other cinder cones to the west, located on the western side. Okay, so you can see, basically, I just wanted you to know that there are volcanoes in the area. And they're pretty young. They erupted recently. Santa Clara Volcanic Field, which has been active since about 4 million years ago, contains numerous cinder cones and lava flows. Santa Clara lava flow erupted from 2 younger cinder cones above Snow Canyon. Okay, so you can see that they're pretty young, and they're in a line. This one was 0.4 million, that's 400,000 years ago. So that was after the 640,000 super eruption of Yellowstone. Okay, so we've already established that there is a mantle plume going this way and that way, pointing towards Yellowstone. So I would not be surprised if we have another uptick in Yellowstone earthquakes. We had an uptick in the Yellowstone earthquakes from the Ridgecrest quake of 7.1. We had an uptick in Yellowstone supervolcano. We had an uptick in Long Valley Caldera supervolcano, which is normal, okay, because these jolt each other, they jolt the area. That's normal. That happened again 20 years ago when they had the 1997 7.1 from Ridgecrest. That again saw an uptick in earthquakes in Long Valley Caldera and Yellowstone supervolcano. So, because, they also have the same mantle plume from what has, last year in April, they came out with this information, with the underground imaging, showing the mantle plume under this area. So this is the same mantle plume that feeds Ridgecrest, Yellowstone, and this whole Snake River Plain area right there. So please be careful, you there. Please stay out of the buildings because they are expecting more quakes. Let's hope that the 5.7 was the big one, but we don't know. So you have to be very careful and be alert and ready. God bless you and protect you always. Thank you for your support. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.